All right, Christopher Mader back once again from the Meat and Potato Show. Conservative talk and awesome rock. We lost Carl there for a minute. A little power failure on my end here in Worcester. We do have thunderstorms moving in here. And anyway, set it up on battery power here. Anyway, Carl, so we were talking about what's going on in the ground offensive vis-a-vis what's happening in across our southern border. So please take it over here, sir.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, the problem is Hamas has been launching Hamas, the governing body of Gaza Strip, has been launching these rockets into Israel, and every time Israel fights back, they get crap for it in the media.
Yeah.
But I fully support them doing what they feel that they need to do. I think Netanyahu's pretty rational about it. They've just had enough of their citizens getting injured.
And here's the thing, you know, I don't know how old you are. I'm 50 years old. I'm an old man. I mean, I remember 72. I remember Munich. I remember Intervew. I remember sitting, I was a young child, but my parents were always very political. Even though they were very liberal at the time, they were very political. So I grew up on all of this. My mother's a historian. I'm an historian. And so I know about this, and we see this. People like you and I, we know this. We see this all the time. What is going on with our society that nobody seems to understand the reality of it? They're quick to jump on this bandwagon of anti-Israel and the code pink, all these people. What's happened here?
This is an offensive led by my generation, which has become increasingly less self-sustaining and more liberal. As a society, I have a lot of things out there on the internet on my generation. I'm very critical of my generation. Because I live it. I'm 31.
Mm-hmm.
So what the problem is, they're unwilling to accept fact, and they substitute emotion for things that need to be dealt with in accordance to fact. And a lot of the people who speak out on evil things don't have any experience in it. For instance, my house was broken into when I lived in Virginia by 6 thugs.
Huh.
Now, I was literally told in court, well, you could have gone out the front door rather than sending free trips to the ER out there. And I was like, but this is my home. I'm here. And I was being lectured by an attorney, and I said, have you ever had to defend yourself with a firearm? He said, I didn't shoot anybody, but he said, well, no, of course not. I said, then don't lecture me on whether or not I can.
I've had conversations with several other internet radio producers here in Massachusetts. And despite the fact that I've done the show since 2008, I constantly run into this same paradigm all the time. People like you and I, and my guests, former guests on the show and future guests on the show, we're all on the same page. We understand this. This is like innate. We look at it and we two and two.
Rational.
Right, 2 and 2 equals 4. But yet you meet the other side, and I think you know what I'm talking about. And they try to rationalize, and they try to undo the simple things that you and I understand. Have we?
Right.
And it translates into our administration now. It's become a national thing now. This entire mesmerizing of America, I call it the Oprah Winfreycation of America. Whereas you've been over in the Middle East, and you see the kids. You see them. They're playing with 9mm guns. They're shooting stuff. They're learning to hate America, hate Jews, hate Israel, kill, 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 jihad, jihad. Right. Meanwhile, we're worried about Johnny eating too many Oreos.
Right. And the fact is, I have seen the father send his 7-year-old son out with a suicide vest on, and I've had to deal with that. And it's not something that I like to do. It's not something that anybody should have to be faced with. But it's at that point, none of these people who are crying out against this, saying, oh, baby killer, whatever, they haven't witnessed it, and they can't understand. War is hell, and I don't wish it upon anybody.
Right.
But the fact is, people need to understand that if you haven't been there, you don't understand. No matter what you've read or whatever liberal college you went to, or how many joints you smoked in Colorado, you don't know.
I like that. And sir, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. The only reason why I ask you and stand by you on this is that's what I want to do here on my show is, you can go to CNN, ABC, or any other college, and they're going to, like you just said, they're going to call you a baby killer. But you come on my show, and I just want to hear, tell us what you experienced, because that's the real story. And it's not like I'm looking at it from, oh, this is a human interest story. No, I want to hear what you experience so that the American people can see this is what's really going on.
It is, and the mainstream media is hesitant to admit or report anything that doesn't
Sure.
fit the progressive liberal agenda. I
No,
mean, we
it
are becoming a socialist state is because we are allowing ourselves
Yeah.
to slip into
Yeah.
this social tolerance of inadequacy.
All right, let's move on here. Your book is Battle of the Home Front. Do I have that right? Battle on the Home Front. Um, Tell us about the book, how you came about it, why you wrote it. Tell us that history and story.
There was one of my friends was killed. By rules of engagement. Rules of engagement directly.
We were
resulted
just
in
talking
his
about
death.
that.
There is no ands, ifs, or buts. I'm not going to give the details of it, but his death could have single-handedly been avoided had a commanding general in the area not adhered to ridiculous rules of engagement that would have it wouldn't hurt anybody else to not make him adhere to these rules of engagement. And it was a travesty. And at that point, I started getting mad. I was furious. The book started off in anger, like that. And when I started writing it, it was just a rant of how upset I was with the military, the government, and the senior officials that were pushing these rules of engagement on us that were killing our sons and daughters. They were coming home in boxes because of this. Our guards weren't allowed to have their guns loaded on at the front gate.
Now,
And then it kind of morphed as I saw more and more, and then eventually, you're familiar with the Blackwater Bridge contractors that were hung from the Fallujah Bridge. Me and my team captured the guy who was responsible for that.
oh,
so-
congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we brought him back. Well, wait for the rest of the story.
No, well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think
Uh,
it's going to end very well.
No, it ends very poorly. So we bring him back to base. There's a flawless op, not a single shot fired in a very, very, very volatile neighborhood. We were able to sneak in, sneak out, and we brought him back. No harm, no foul, nothing was wrong with him, and he complained of prisoner abuse. And our chain of command, our SEAL chain of command commanders hung us out for a court-martial, all 8 SEALs on the word of a terrorist.
And this is how you got discharged. Go ahead, keep
No,
going.
this is not how I got discharged.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
sorry.
how-
Go ahead.
So we went out on court-martial, and charges were dropped on me and 4 of my teammates, but 3 of my teammates, one of which I was his best man at his wedding, went to trial. And they were charged with prisoner abuse, and we all went to court-martial. I testified in court-martial. They flew us back to Baghdad on the country's dime for the trial, so they could have the terrorist who was being put to death anyway testify against us. And we all were acquitted. It was a huge black eye for the administration, for the military, and for all the commanders there. But we were eventually all acquitted, but our names were all thrown in a hat that was in a negative light. And the fact of the matter is, nobody touched this guy. It was politically convenient to take the word of him.
Right.
And that's page 1 out of the terrorist handbook. They they bring you back, and they capture you, claim that you were abused. And at least someone's down with it. And so that's what drove me to really make the government and the deficiencies in our society and how we've accepted that. That's how it originated, and then it was refined, obviously, by an editor and some PR people that helped me out.
What were the actual charges, though, that were...
Prisoner abuse.
Yeah, exactly.
False official statement, the whole rigmarole that goes along with it. They tacked on everything they could, and all charges were dropped in the end completely. That's when I published the book. I tried to get the book published through the Navy channels. I said 2 years I spent negotiating with them. I'd like to get this published.
Really?
Please review it for
Really?
security, for ethics. And they refused to touch it, wouldn't review it. So I finally went to NCIS. NCIS approved it. They said, look, this is not an official approval, but there's nothing classified in this book. Which at that point, I went on ahead and said, hey, you guys have had 2 years. Your standards dictate that it should be sooner than that. So I'm going to go ahead and publish it with or without your permission, and do it will with me. This is my First Amendment right.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Carl Higbie from Connecticut ran for Congress. I'm sorry that you didn't make it into the final primaries. I mean,
I'm 31. I have plenty of
here's
time.
the thing that I do on my show. See, I interview guys like you, great people who could change the course of America, who have great ideas and great knowledge of what's going on out there. And I don't know, you don't get enough money. I know you had 1,900 people, but somehow you didn't make it. Either it was the
A
GOP.
political machine is
Yeah.
very difficult to upset. And
No.
once it's set in motion, especially when you have a candidate that's been groomed for 4 years
Right.
for that position, five years, It's very difficult to unseat that.
It
And
does.
I'm not a Tea Party guy. I like what the Tea Party stands for.
But you're just an American, and you see things that are wrong, and you want to.
I'm a normal guy. I have a 17-month-old daughter. I work a 9 to 5. I work a normal job every day.
Here's the thing: we've got all these politicians, and like you said, people that are backed up. You just said the guy was groomed, and it's like, oh, can we get away from this, please, and let people like Carl and just many of the other people that I've interviewed on my show, just let them have a chance. I mean, it's not like you guys are gonna do any worse. I mean, you're gonna only do anything better. One of the things you said here, even on your page. You don't exactly propose getting away with a lot of bureaucracies and agencies. You just want to get rid of the oversight, the crap that goes on. 40% of all money, any agency, just pick one. Flip a coin, pick one. 40% of the money that goes to that, just on administrative costs, is another 10 to 15, maybe 20%, depending on the agency, that is lost in abuse, waste, and fraud. So you're looking at less than 20, 15% of the actual money allocated actually going to actually helping the actual people that the agency was actually invented for actually in the first place.
Right. And you look at agencies like the Board of Ed. I mean, we have a federal Board of Ed. We have a state Board of Ed. What part of the Constitution allows the federal?
Yeah, that's right. None of that exists anyway in the first place, right?
Absolutely. And also you have the EPA, state EPA, DEP. You have EPA federal. I want to do away with the federal Board of Ed. I want to do away with the EPA.
I don't blame you.
On a federal level. I mean, this would be massive. I want to drastically rein in things like the IRS. I mean, you can tell that's a corrupt agency.
Yeah.
They won't even answer the questions that they're paid to answer.
No.
That's their job.
It says right here on your flyer, many business owners are spending more time trying to comply with regulations than actually doing business.
Yep.
This must stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Carl Higbie ran for Congress in Connecticut, author of the book Battle on the Home Front, Fox News contributor, Navy SEAL. Oh, God, let's throw a trophy around this guy. Carl, thank you so much for coming on to my show.
Thanks for having me on anytime.
And August 30th, if you can make it, get up to 18 Grafton Street. We'd love to hear what you have to say. If you showed up there and with your resume, I don't mean an actual resume, you just show up there with what you've done, this is going to make quite the show. And thank you, Carl. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you on Fox News again tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning, 7:45.
All right, Cap. Thanks, you. Thank you.
Bye.